Some of the happiest moments of your life probably never happened the way you remember them. Not completely. Not accurately. The birthday that felt perfect. The summer that seemed endless. The relationship you still think about years later. The friendship you swear was different from all the others. If someone had secretly recorded those moments and showed you the footage today, there's a good chance you'd be shocked. Not because the memory was bad, but because it wasn't what you remember at all. And that's unsettling because most people assume memories are stored like videos, as if your brain is quietly recording everything and saving it somewhere. But that's not what your brain does. Your brain does something much stranger. Every time you remember a memory, you change it, which means some of your most treasured memories may actually be stories you've been rewriting for years. And that's where things get interesting, because the memories that feel the most real are often the least accurate. Most people never notice this happening. A song starts playing in a store. A familiar smell drifts through the air. You stumble across an old photo online. Suddenly you're transported back in time. For a few seconds, it feels vivid, almost cinematic. You can see the faces, hear the voices, and feel the emotions all over again. Instantly, your brain tells you that those were the best days of your life. But here's the strange part. If you could go back and actually live through those moments again, they probably wouldn't feel nearly as perfect as they do now. Think about high school. Millions of adults spend years romanticizing it. They remember the friendships, the football games, the first crushes, and the late-night adventures. What they conveniently forget is the anxiety, the insecurity, the loneliness, and the constant pressure to fit in. It's as if their brain edited out half the story. And that's because your memory isn't designed to preserve reality. It's designed to preserve meaning. What most people don't realize is that memory works more like a storyteller than a storage box. Every time you remember something, your brain doesn't pull out a perfectly preserved recording. Instead, it rebuilds the experience from scattered pieces. Emotions, images, fragments of conversations, assumptions, and feelings. While reconstructing the memory, your brain quietly makes changes. Tiny changes that seem insignificant in the moment. But after years of remembering the same event, those tiny edits can completely transform the story. A memory isn't frozen in time. It's alive. It evolves. And every time you revisit it, you reshape it. This is where things get interesting because the memories with the strongest emotions attached to them are often the memories that get altered the most. Not less. The moments you cherish the most are often the moments your brain has rewritten the most because those memories help explain who you are. They help build your identity. And identity is something your brain protects at all costs. Consider someone who remembers their first serious relationship as magical. Years later, they still replay the late-night conversations, the excitement, and the feeling of being understood. But when you ask them about the arguments, the misunderstandings, or the painful moments, the details suddenly become blurry. Those parts slowly fade away while the emotional highlights remain crystal clear. Because their brain isn't trying to remember the relationship itself. It's trying to remember what the relationship meant. The same thing happens with friendships, careers, family experiences, and vacations. A vacation that was stressful at the time can become a cherished memory years later. An ordinary summer can somehow transform into the greatest summer of your life. Not because reality changed, but because the story changed. And stories are often more powerful than facts. Social media has made this phenomenon even stranger. Today, people experience life while simultaneously preparing to remember it. Think about that for a moment. Someone attends a concert. Instead of fully experiencing the moment, they're recording videos, taking photos, and posting updates. They're creating evidence for future memories. But here's the strange part. Months later, they often remember the photos more clearly than the actual experience itself. The edited version becomes stronger than reality. The highlight reel replaces the original event. And that's not even the most surprising part. The more often you revisit those photos, the more your brain begins treating them as proof of what happened. Even if that photo captured only one perfect second out of an entire evening. Gradually, your memory starts orbiting around that image while everything else fades away. The real reason is much darker than most people think. Your brain isn't obsessed with truth. It's obsessed with survival. For thousands of years, human beings didn't need perfect memories to survive. They needed useful memories. Your brain constantly asks one question: what should I learn from this? It rarely asks, what exactly happened? Because of that, memories become compressed over time. The details fade away while the lesson remains. A painful breakup becomes a lesson about trust. A failed business becomes a lesson about resilience. An embarrassing moment becomes a lesson about social acceptance. Over time, your brain keeps the meaning and throws away the evidence. Eventually, the lesson becomes the memory itself. This explains something almost everyone experiences at some point in life. You return to a place from your childhood after many years. Maybe it's your old school, your neighborhood, or the house where you grew up. And suddenly it feels wrong. Smaller than you remember. Less magical. Less significant. You stand there wondering how this ordinary place could have once felt so enormous. That's because the place didn't just change. Your memory changed too. For years, your brain was layering that location with nostalgia, longing, hope, and emotion. The physical place could never compete with the version that existed inside your head. Because the version inside your head stopped being a place long ago. It became a symbol of who you used to be. And symbols are often more powerful than reality. Once you notice this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. The person who constantly talks about the good old days. The friend who can't stop thinking about an X years later. The employee who misses their old job even though they complained about it every day. The adult who desperately wishes they could go back to being young again. At first, it seems like they're missing a period of time. But that's usually not true. They're missing how that period made them feel. They're not chasing the memory itself. They're chasing the emotion attached to it. And emotions don't exist in old photographs. They don't exist in old messages. They don't exist in old locations. They exist inside the mind. That's why recreating old memories almost never works. The reunion feels awkward. The vacation feels different. The restaurant isn't as magical as you remembered. Because you were never attached to the event. You were attached to the emotional meaning your brain created afterward. But here's the most surprising part of all. Your best memories feeling fake isn't a flaw in your brain. It's actually one of its most remarkable features. Those memories were never meant to be historical records. They were meant to help you create a story about your life. A story that gives meaning to your experiences. A story that connects your past to your present. A story that helps you understand who you are. Without that process, life would feel like random disconnected events. Meaningless fragments scattered across time. Your brain turns those fragments into a narrative. And narratives require interpretation. They require emphasis. They require editing. In a strange way, the inaccuracies are exactly what make memories valuable. Because memories aren't preserving reality. They're preserving significance. So the next time an old memory feels strangely distant, or a childhood moment feels almost unreal, remember this. You're not looking at the past. You're looking at a story your mind has been carefully rewriting for years. A story shaped by emotion, identity, regret, hope, and meaning. The most powerful memories aren't the ones that happened exactly as you remember them. They're the ones that changed you. Even if the version living inside your head was never completely real. Because sometimes the memories that feel the most fake reveal the deepest truths. Not about the past, but about the person you've become since then.